So now we are going to see about JSP, Java Server Pages. So JSP is a server-side web technology which is used to create dynamic web pages. So there are lots of server-side scripting technologies available, but JSP is one of the server-side technology which is based on Java programming language. Though servlets were there, which is used to create dynamic web pages, JSP has some advantages over servlets. That's why JSP is preferred compared with that of the servlet. So what are the advantages of JSP over servlet? It provides extension to servlet and make the development very easy, and it is also easy to maintain. In case of servlets, the presentation and business logic uh, does not have any separation, but here both are separated, and it provides faster development and it provides less code than servlet. So that's why JSP is said to be more advantageous than servlet. So in order to execute a JSP file and to get your dynamic web page, so basically JSP follows a series of steps. We call it as life cycle of a JSP page. So what are the processes that will be coming under the life cycle of a JSP page? So before seeing the processes, so we'll see a general process diagram which depicts the flow of how JSP actually works. So you can see a JSP file will be converted into a servlet or .java file using a JSP translator. Later on compilation, this .java file is converted into a class file which is fed into a JRE environment and which is fetched by a servlet object, and you can see finally it allows a dynamic web page creation which will be sent back to a client as a response. So this is how a general process of JSP works. So this process execution requires various methods. So we know that first one is the translation of JSP, next is the compilation of JSP, and it has to be converted into a class file. We call it as class loading. So this will be done by a class loader. After conversion of classes into class file from the Java file, so what we have to do is JSP file. What we have to do is we have to create dynamic web pages by writing the JSP script. So what happens inside our JSP script? First one, it instantiation takes place. That is, an object of a generated servlet is created. Then initialization will be done. So then processing of the request will be done. So this is where we do actual processing. The send and receive process will be happening through get and post method only in this request processing phase, and finally you can terminate the method by invoking destroy. Okay, so these are all the methods that will be coming under the life cycle of a JSP. So basically, in order to execute a JSP program, we need a server-side environment. What I normally prefer is Apache Tomcat server-side environment, and I'm going to use an Eclipse IDE which will be providing you a very user-friendly environment for executing a JSP program. So before seeing your JSP program, let us see how does a JSP program looks like. A JSP program is simple. It is a script which is embedded inside a HTML page inside the body of a web page. So you can see this example over here. So this script can be enclosed inside a percentage access specifier, or inside this you can write the scripts. Okay, so this is the general method of specifying the JSP script. Okay, so writing script is in different ways. So you can see here we call it as the types of tags in JSP or JSP scripting elements. One is the scriptlet tag, and another one is the expression tag, and third one is the declaration tag. A scriptlet tag is something which is a Java source code enclosed inside a percentage access specifier. So we call this a scriptlet tag. And what is the expression tag? So this expression tag is used to declare the variables alone, or this expression tag is used to display the variables and messages alone. Okay, so you can see it is preceded by an equal to symbol. And third one is the declaration tag. So it is used to declare the variables and methods. Okay, and it is preceded by an exclamatory mark. So these are the three types of JSP tags. So how to execute a JSP program? Before going to see the execution process, so you can see the differences between scriptlet and declaration. JSP scriptlet can declare variables and not methods, whereas the declaration declares variables and methods. So you can see the scriptlet is inside the JSP service method, whereas here the declaration is placed outside the JSP service method. So how to execute this JSP program? So I installed sorry, I installed an Eclipse IDE. So you can see here, after installation of an Eclipse IDE, you get your workspace. So go to File, open New Project, and you create a dynamic web project, and you create a project name for your project, My Dynamic Page. So this is the project what I have created, and after this you select the runtime environment. So we have selected the runtime environment as Apache Tomcat runtime environment. Click next, and here you can see this is the source folder to build the path. Click next. So you can see it shows the name of the root folder and the directory for space where your source file will be saved, source main and web app. You click finish. So you can see in the left hand side of your window, you can see the project has been created and the subfolders are displayed over here. So this is my dynamic page project, and you can see these are all the other projects which I created already. So you can see our path is src main, and inside this web app is our path. So in this web app path, I'm going to create a JSP file. Right click, go here, create a JSP file, and I'm going to create a JSP file print message, and I'm going to click finish. So you can see a JSP file has been created. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate you how a form processing, a simple form processing will be done in JSP. So for this we need a HTML form. So again, right click web app, click new HTML project, and click finish. So I'm going to create a form over here. Give a name if you want. An action is the name of the JSP file which will be which will be displaying the message. Let us call it as display.jsp. So I'm going to create a form with a text box for getting a message. I'm going to say name equal to message, and input type equal to submit. Now, so we have coded the front end. Okay, so now we have created a form. On clicking of the submit button of the form, it should display a message. For this, we have to write the code for display.jsp. So now we'll create display.jsp. Again, right click. Already we have created a JSP file. Let us rename that. We rename it as display.jsp. Okay, now open the file display.jsp. So this is the JSP file. So on the first line of the JSP file, you can see a command has been given. So whenever your JSP code is enclosed along with an add directive and a keyword, it means that it is a command or a directive which is instructing to the browser what kind of output should be sent as a response. So add page specifies that. So this is actually of language Java, and it will be displayed in HTML format. So always when your JSP tag is having a at symbol, it means that it is a directive. So this is the first line. So we have made use of a directive. Okay. So now this is our code. So inside our code, we have to write a JSP tag for fetching value from the form. So in order to fetch value from the form, we use a variable, and the method used for fetching value from the form is, here also we have the concept of objects and methods. Since it is a Java programming language, we use inbuilt methods and classes and objects. Okay, so here we are making use of request object to retrieve the value from the form, and it has a get parameter method which actually fetches the data from an input control. And get parameter of, inside this you have to tell what is the name of the control from where we are going to fetch the data. That is, message is the name of the control. So request dot get parameter will fetch the input that you enter on the text box. Okay, now we have to print it on the screen. Out dot print of whatever message we have typed there, that should be printed. Okay, now save it. So now our program is having two things. One is the HTML file and another one is the JSP file. Right click the HTML file. Okay, now we are going to so click the HTML file. Now we are going to run the project. Select Tomcat version 7. Click next. Click and click finish. I'm going to restart the server. So if your firewall is having some restrictions, you will be getting a message like this. So in the text box, I am printing a message, hello PSNA, and I am clicking submit. So I think our program has some error. Let us debug it. So let us compile the program now. So we use request.get parameter to fetch the message. It is stored to a variable called yes, and it will be printed on the screen when user presses the submit button. Okay, so now let us execute the program. Click submit, and you can see here hello PSNA is displayed on the screen. So whatever I am typing, so I am typing as hello Anitha, and you can see whatever I am typing there, that will be fetched to the next page using your JSP program where you have written code to fetch the data from the input text box and you are printing it on the screen. Okay, so this is how a simple processing can be done using JSP. Okay, so JSP is very simple. So we have to remember the syntax and how the things can be used. Okay, so this JSP makes use of the implicit objects of Java. As we see, it uses request object, response object, session object and application object. Okay, request object is used to serve the request, response is used to serve the response, and session and application are used to store the information about the web pages and the account holders. Okay, so if you want to retrieve the information using session and application, we can make use of get and post. So that's how we make use of the implicit object. So this JSP is also contains something called directives or commands. So this directives or the commands are nothing but the messages sent to the JSP container, which is used to instruct the browser to display what kind of content should be displayed on your page and what kind of file should be displayed, and in then what action should be taken on the tag libraries. Such things will be demonstrated or instructed by the page, instructed by the directives. So there are different kinds of directives. They are page directives, include directives. Okay, so here, so if our directive is a page directive, what we should do? So if our directive is a page directive, it is actually embedded inside a HTML page, and it will be preceded with an @ symbol followed by an and symbol. Okay, so that is what we call it as page directives. So for example, you can see the screen. This is the example for page directive. So we inside a page directive, we have declared the variables whatever we want. So we can just declare. And next one is the include directive. So include directive is used to include one file inside another file. Suppose this line of code is written inside one JSP file. So inside the JSP file, whatever lines of code are specified in included.jsp will be added. Okay, so the content of the included.jsp will be added to this current file. Okay, so that is the objective of include.jsp. So these are all the basics on how a JSP will work. Thank you.